Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Kelvis Podcast. I got another great guest on the podcast tonight from Tre'vone, my man Tre'vone. And I'm gonna let him just talk about himself and introduce us to the audience and go and tell us about yourself, man, history a little bit.
Man, I don't really like to talk about myself too much, but I guess
I
since
got you.
you asked me to, I
Yeah, I
guess
got you, man.
I'll say a little bit. No, I'm Trayvon McNeill. I am the father of two beautiful, four now beautiful young
Okay.
girls, and I say that because I've recently engaged.
Okay,
And I'm
congratulations.
sure I'm sure somewhere you're gonna bring that up
Yeah,
somewhere. So,
yeah.
but yes, to and excuse me, and so out of that, I like to make sure now that I claim all four
Oh yeah,
girls.
I feel you. I understand.
Biologically, I have two beautiful girls as well,
Right.
and that's Nyla, Grace, and Kyla Faith. So I always pull on them,
Right.
and then y'all know my Heidi Pooh and that. So anyway, I am just grateful to be here. I am the owner of Genesis Learning Academy, Child
Mhm.
Care and Development Center, as well
Right.
as Genesis Learning Academy Christian School.
Right.
I love doing that. I am also a young adult and college pastor at Tre'vone Ministries.
Mhm.
Love serving people, man. I love people.
I know. I seen you in
Yeah,
action, man.
yeah, man. I
I've
love
had.
people.
Let me tell you, I had the great fortune. My boss, and he knows him well, Mr. Robert Cousin. Through him, I've been introduced to him and been around him. So I seen your interaction, man. And I heard a lot of great things about you. So I definitely know you. You got the passion of the love of God in you, and the passion to help people. 'Cause I've been out there seeing y'all feed all those people. A couple months ago, I was out there pulling wagons and
Yeah.
loading food in the car. So I seen you in action, man. And so talk to me about your role, because we was kind of sitting out there kind of just getting to know each other. You say you also as a adjunct professor at Methodist
Yeah,
College, correct?
Methodist. Yeah, so I'm adjunct professor at Methodist University.
Right.
I'm there, man, to be a support to that entire campus
Hmm.
and those students. Really giving my heart, my time, and the ministry that God has placed in me for people
Right.
to partner with Reverend Kelly Taylor,
Uh,
who's there. She's the chaplain of that campus.
Okay.
Phenomenal woman of God, who has a heart for people and who particularly can see, as you and I were talking on another level of things,
Right.
particularly see where there is an area that's not being reached.
Right.
And she says, I need a little help. I need somebody who can help stand with me and make
Right.
this thing happen. And thank God that he chose me to be one to partner with her
Definitely.
and to come onto that campus and reach those students.
Yeah.
So on that campus, we've had the opportunity to initiate a gospel service,
Okay.
more of a gospel feel
Right.
service for our students there,
Yeah.
and to also be able to launch a Bible study on that campus as well.
Right.
Partner with the students in doing that. Have an end goal of getting their gospel choir back up and running. That
Okay.
was started back in the early 2000s
Hmm.
by Miss Nicole McLaughlin. Then she was Nicole Butler. But man, just really just excited about what God is going to do and
Right.
can do and has been doing on that campus through those.
So we was talking a little bit. You was saying how you had one approach and it wasn't getting you where you wanted to be
Yeah.
as reaching the students and bringing them closer to God, and you
Yeah.
had to change that approach. So talk to me a little bit about how you had to transform
Mm.
from you had a purpose, you had an idea going in, but then you saw that you need to tailor that to get the young adults to Bible studying and different activities.
So if I could start by saying this, a lot of us as preachers, a lot of times, a lot of us, not all of us,
Mhm.
okay, but a lot of us, our goal is to grow a church,
Right.
get a bunch of people in a room, make
Mhm.
them shout, get happy,
Right.
and that's not the goal of Jesus.
Okay. Talk to me
Our
now.
goal should be to get people in a room, big or small, but grow a room, get people in there, and make them disciples of Jesus Christ. And if we can make them disciples of Jesus Christ, show them, teach them, and disciple them into a manner where they can go out and make other
Yes, sir.
disciples,
Right.
right?
That's right.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
Christ has made me a disciple, then I go out and make someone else a disciple,
Right.
and they do the same, then we're fulfilling the Great Commission.
That's
Okay,
it.
go ye into all the world.
That's
And
it.
so if that's what we're doing, then we're pleasing God. I
Right.
realized that my heart was in the right place. My motives were in the right place by preaching every Sunday, but I wasn't getting the results. And the reason why I wasn't getting results is because I didn't feel like I was making disciples.
Mhm.
People were getting saved on Sundays. They were getting saved, but they weren't coming back. They weren't really engaging like that, you
Yeah.
know. We had numbers, but we didn't have the numbers I believe that God showed me. And so I talked to my team and I'm like, hey, y'all, we've got to do something
Different.
different. We got to do something different. Went and talked to my senior pastor, Dr. Ernest W. Jones, and sat down with him. And one of the things that he said to me, I want to share this with you real quick.
Please do.
He said to me, he said, "Hey, Trey, listen, we're on that campus every Sunday now." He says, "You're preaching every week." He says, "Great job." He said, "But I need you to start focusing on discipleship messages." He said, "We're on that campus once a week. You're only on that campus one time out the week. You've got to show them how to be disciples. You only get one chance a week to do that." So that him saying that to me shifted my mentality as a leader, as a set leader. It shifted my mentality about my responsibility. I'm not just here to make you clap. I'm not just here so we can sing and shout and dance. I'm not here to make you happy. I am here to give you Jesus and shape you into who he has called you to be, right?
His purpose.
His purpose, right? Not mine, but his.
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
And so in recognizing the responsibility that I then had, it made me go back to my team and say, "Hey, y'all, these numbers are not what God showed me. What are we doing wrong? Or what are we doing right, but not right enough? What are we not giving enough attention to?" And two of my team members was like, "Hey, you always talking about us making disciples. You always talk about us getting, being personable with people. But we don't have the time. We don't have the time to come out here every day during the week. So what if we started, instead of Sunday services, we started doing Bible study services?" Okay, cool. Let's do it. And so what we did is we found the best day of the week would probably be a Wednesday night.
Okay.
And we started out there on Wednesday nights, and we grew, man. We are now in a dorm room, and we have something now. The students they've pinned it as the lounge, and so we call it the lounge. We're in the college dorm building, and we're packing out, if you will, a great area of their the lobby.
Okay.
Man, students are just walking by and they're stopping to see what we're talking about. Some are just stopping and sitting down, but they're getting Jesus and they're giving their life to Christ. And here's something I'm noticing.
What's that?
We're no longer holding the Sunday night services that we were holding, but we're holding the Wednesday Bible studies, right? We ain't shouting, we ain't dancing. We say, "Thank you, Jesus." We clap our hands, we pray, we do all of that stuff, but we don't have all of the other pieces that a service will have, right?
Yes.
But these students are becoming hungry for Jesus and hungry for community to the degree that they are now saying, "I've got to get up on Sunday morning." And they are showing up to our Sunday morning services on our main campus, and they're bringing friends with them. Just this past Sunday, when they asked for first-time guests to stand, I was so excited because when they did, I turned around and some of my students from Methodist who had been a few times invited more of their friends. They had 2 rows of people on this section of the church, a row on this side of the church, a little section over here where they have now populated within the main sanctuary because of our responsibility of just making disciples. They're showing up on Tuesday night for our young adult Bible study. They're showing up on Saturday and Thursday nights via Zoom for our discipleship classes. Nobody's forcing them. Nobody's manipulating them to do it. They just want Jesus, and we're giving it to them.
I think, and you said something important. I talked to Winslow. I was talking to him about it. I'm Bethel. I go to Bethel AME Church here in Spring Lake. And one thing that we talked about was our young adults on the district level. And there were several books that our elder had us to read, and it kind of talked about the age that we was out there talking about, the age in the early 30s to 40. The A&E side of the house was losing a lot of the youth as for young adults. You know what I'm saying? Because they wasn't connecting to the way things are now. Not that you have to conform to the world, but you have to understand the world in which you are living in. And you have to find a connection that I see that you have talked about. And I'm so happy to hear about that. And I've been to your church a few times myself, see how you have, and God have led you to the ability to be able to connect to them young people.
Man, I'm gonna tell you,
adults. And it's breathtaking because we are losing that. And I think across the board, no matter what your denomination is, that age of the 30s to 40s, most churches are losing that age because they're not able to connect with them for whatever they structure, their doctrine or their church, or just the structure of their church. They're not able to connect to them. And it's just refreshing to hear you how your team have gone out there and really connected to them young adults.
Man, 2 things, bro. One of the things is I pay attention to my pastor. I pay attention to my senior leader, and I watch him. And I do my very best not to copy him,
Right.
but to really emulate what God has placed in him that I'm supposed to have.
Right.
So everything that he has is not for me.
Right.
Everything that he has may be, I mean, there are things that he has as for other sons and daughters in the ministry.
Right.
But I pray, I pay attention, and I ask God to show me what parts of that man is supposed to be imparted to me. What am I supposed to be open to receive? And I stay open. I stay open for correction. And that's why a lot of us aren't getting anywhere, because as soon as we get corrected, bro,
Right.
we out.
Yeah.
Man.
Ain't been here no more. He done
What?
pissed me off.
We're done.
Done.
We're
Gone.
done.
Yeah.
I stay open for correction, but I also stay open for celebration.
Right.
And celebration makes me uncomfortable. When you celebrate me, I'm just one of those guys. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it, but I'm uncomfortable with it.
Gotcha.
But when my pastor, my senior leader says, "Trey, man, I'm glad you did this," and I don't get it. I don't get it every week.
Right.
No, I don't get it every week. But I also don't look for it every week.
Right.
Because I've come to the realization that some things are just my responsibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He shouldn't. My daughters should not. They came to me the other day, and Kelvin. They said, "Daddy, can we get allowance?" I was like, "Well, what am I giving you allowance for?"
Okay.
They said, "For cleaning our room." They were cute,
Right.
but that wasn't enough for me to give you no money. But I still got to buy your food.
Right.
I still got to buy shoes. I
Right.
still got to get you. Okay. So cleaning your room is the reason.
Right.
And they said, "Yes, sir." And here's what I said to them. I said, "If cleaning your room is the only reason that I need to give you money, then I'm going to tell you no, because that's your responsibility. I don't want you to get this thing mixed up, and for you to think that you are going to grow up and be celebrated or praised every time you do what you ought to have done in the first place," right? So the first thing is I stay open and I stay available and I keep my eyes on my senior leader. But the other thing, man, is I know my assignment. I know my assignment.
You know your purpose.
I know my purpose. I know what I'm supposed to be doing in this season of my life, and I pray about that thing, and I pay attention to what God is saying and doing around me concerning it, and I try to keep my ears open for what He's saying to me concerning those things. So that's one of the reasons I believe we've been effective. But I want to say this real quick: when it comes to churches, a lot of and I'm willing to help any church out there that is in need of assistance with their young adult ministries, because a lot are failing, a lot are dying.
Right.
But the reason they're dying is not because we don't want Jesus. Young adults want him.
True. Yeah.
The problem is they're confused about what he looks like now, because we've made this Christianity thing more about us and more about our history than we have made it about him and his history. And so we don't study. We don't go any deeper than just the average, the typical conversations of church. And so they're all looking at us like, that's not what grandma said. And if you're going to be surface without any base, if you're going to be surface and can't give me any support behind what you're saying, then I don't know if I want to believe you. That's how our young adults are thinking. And I am just at this point, I told our team this. I told our young adult ministry team this, our leadership team. I said, outside of us making sure that we stay in line with the vision of the church, we've got to make sure we stay in touch with the culture. But we got to stay in touch with the culture, but we're not changing for the culture. Because what we've got to do is stay in touch enough to know what we're competing with.
Right.
So that we don't compete with it, we don't compare to it, but we can compel people out of it. You get what I'm saying? We can draw people out of it because we know what it is. You follow me?
You got to know.
You got to know.
In order to move forward, you got to know your past.
You got to know.
Right.
You got to know. So you've got to be able to know what you're dealing with. And a lot of times, man, our churches lose young people because we decide the way we've been doing it is okay. The way it worked for my mom, it worked for my dad, it worked for my sister, my brother. Yeah. That's cool. And I promise you, it'll still work. It will still work. But before it works, what will you do to work to get someone else in here? Because that thing worked then because it was the popular thing then. What's popular enough now that won't contaminate the message, won't misconstrue the idea, and will not make Christ look like he's not who he is, so that we can pull people in? If that's just a simple cookout, do a cookout. We ain't got to have service today. Let's just have a cookout. Yeah. And and listen, I've put enough word in every person in our sanctuary for the past 365 days that if we don't have service today and we just cook out and there are new people that come today,
right,
somebody should get a word from one of y'all.
right.
Because I put
you don't fed them.
Huh?
You don't fed them.
What?
And they full.
What?
Yes, Lord.
I tell our young adult leaders this right here. No, forget that. You know what my pastor said to me one day, man? He said this to a group of leaders, but I say he was talking to me because, I listen, Okay, he said this. He said, if you cannot leave your ministry for 1 week, if you can't walk away from your ministry for 1 month, if you can't walk away from your ministry for any length of time and it has not fallen apart, you're not a good leader. That thing hit me. So if I feel like I'm the only one who can teach my Bible studies because, I'm the young adult pastor.
Right.
I'm the young adult pastor here. Right. I know the rest of y'all are called by God, but I'm the young adult pastor. So I'm going to be the one to teach Bible study every week because they come to hear me.
Right.
Ain't nobody come to hear you.
Because you're not getting an opportunity to grow.
What?
Leadership is judged by when in your absence, how your people can carry on the mission. I'm a military guy.
Listen, the truth of your leadership shows up in your absence.
That's right.
The truth of it, I was involved in a really bad car accident in February of 23, right? Mm-hmm. And it took me out of church from February up until like May, June. I can't remember, somewhere around there. And all of that time, the young adult ministry, the ministry at Methodist University, it had to keep going.
Right.
And it did. Not only did it keep going, but it grew. You know why it grew? Because there were leaders who cared about what I poured into them, and they cared about the people, because I don't teach you to focus on me. I teach you to focus on him and make sure your focus on him is reflective of how you give care to these people. And I get that from my leadership. My senior leaders, that's how they do. And I pay attention to that. Right. They care about us enough for us to see, oh, that's Jesus. That's the Jesus in him. That's the Jesus in her, right?
Well, I'm about to test your Jesus now.
Oh, go on and test him.
So now because when you said that and I knew that from my people doing their research that you had been in a car accident, you've been through a divorce. So I want you, and this is mental health. So I'm gonna take my glasses off because
let me open that up.
Yeah, you should get you a little something to drink. So I want to know how I know your faith. There's no question about that.
Okay,
we have established it. There's no question about that. But from a person, from a human, how did you manage that? What mental pull did it have on you? What mental effect you had? Your divorce, I'm assuming, it was prior to the accident. Then you went through the accident. You was away from the ministry. You was away from everything. How did you mentally cope with that?
Okay, I'm gonna say this first, okay? Because you made a statement. I know you didn't mean anything when you made the statement, but I just want to say this. So I never separate my humanity from my Christianity. Okay. You know, I never do, because the moment I do, I depend on me, and that's how I got through. In all honesty, the divorce was terrible, man. I married somebody I intended to be with for the rest of my life. Okay. Jacked up along the way. And made mistakes along the way, and things did not work out. Things didn't work out with a person who I felt like was an amazing individual. And to this day, they're still an amazing individual. It just didn't work. Okay. And so in this particular moment, I can look back and say, oh man, I hate that I went through that, but I'm glad that I got through that. Right. But the way that I got through it was my faith in him. I can't separate myself from that, Right. But there were some natural pieces.
And that's why I want to speak to the natural part, because
those natural pieces.
Again, because I think here's what I've learned. I'm 50 years old. I come from a small town, Facing, North Carolina. I don't know if you never heard of Clinton. Okay.
Yeah. Country folk.
My mother's an elder, 30 years. A lot of my family and in my culture down there, grew up in the church. We gave everything to God. And I know God's amazing. He done brought me back from combat when I should have been dead. He done brought me through I got some testimonies just like anybody else have. But there's a point that in my life, being in combat and being through the things I've been through, my faith was strong. But I believe God enabled people. He put people in your life to help you. And so and I still go to mental health. And so it's not that I separated God from my healing, but also God put people, he educated people to help us along the way with mental health, like psychologists and people like that. So that was more my question, not that, separate God from, because God brought us through.
I didn't think you were challenging my Christianity. No. I wanted to make that, but I really wanted to make that point, because that's something that I do tell people, man, is that a lot of times, and you got to remember, I'm an evangelist at heart.
Yeah.
I'm an evangelist at heart, and my ministry focus is young adults right now.
Right.
It's young people, and a lot of young adults think that they have to separate themselves from God in order to receive the natural help.
Nah,
When
just
you, yeah,
it's
there's
coexistence,
something I say.
time.
Yeah, God, man, what helped me was when I reminded myself of who he was and who I was,
Mhm.
even while things were hurting. It did not mean I was not upset about it. It didn't mean that I didn't doubt about something that was going on. I had moments, man. I couldn't walk without assistance. I couldn't wash myself. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
mean, I had to humble myself, brother.
Yeah.
I didn't. The brothers from the church, young adults, they put me in my bed at night. They were there round the clock. I had to have 24 hours, 7 day a week care. And somebody had to be in the house with me when I woke up and when I went to bed.
Right.
So they were coming over, they would get up, they'd get me out of bed, put me on my couch, and then people would come and rotate around around the clock, to assist me. But that came from them. Prior to that, let me say this: through the divorce, the separation, the divorce, the court proceedings, and all this other stuff, man. I had friends. I had friends who said they were friends,
Mhm.
and they showed themselves friendly, like the Bible say. I had friends who said they were friends, and they showed up.
Right.
I remember I have I have these brothers, man, and they're my best friends. We've been friends since we were young,
Mhm.
and God has groomed us and grown us into ministry to where we are today and where we're
Okay.
going. And two of them pulled me aside because they were in the area at the time, and they pulled me aside and they took me out to eat. And they said, "Hey, man, are you okay?" I said, "Yeah." We went to Cracker Barrel. They're looking at me. "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." "Nah, you ain't okay.
Right.
Quit lying." I
Right.
said, "Man, I'm okay.
Man,
I'm
you preaching
okay."
my soul right
Yeah.
there. I've been
I
through
was,
that same
yeah.
process.
I'm
Yeah.
like, "Man, I'm okay. I'm good." They're like, "You ain't okay. If you were okay, you would have said dot 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 dot. That ain't how you talk. That ain't how you talk."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you've got to, I believe if you're going to heal in certain areas, you've got to surround yourself with people who know you.
That's true. That's
You
very
got
true.
to surround yourself with people who know you, who will check you, who will correct you, and who you will allow to remind you that you are not being who you say you are. And you've got to receive that.
Yeah.
You got to receive, dang,
You
man,
gotta
I
let your
really
ego
ain't.
down, because man, that was my problem
What?
when I was going through my challenges in life. I lied to my friends like I'm okay, I'm good, and like you said, I can relate to that. And I'm smiling inside because I went through that, but I had to let my ego go, because as a man, we still human, we still flesh, and I had that ego up, I had that wall up because I didn't want people in my business. I didn't want people to know that I was hurting, that I was going
Yeah.
through this process.
Yeah.
So I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah. And man, what blessed me was, man, so I'm not a crier, right? Well, I wasn't. I am now for some reason. I just cry. Just it's I don't know. But I wasn't a crier, man. And I remember, man, days after separation, man, I was waiting for my children. I was waiting for my children. That thing hurt
Right.
because I wasn't used to that. I was used to going to bed at night and they're 2 rooms down, you
Right.
know? But now life is hitting me and things are shifting and there are challenges here that I never thought I would see.
Right.
And some of it's self-inflicted. You got to be honest with you enough to say, I did that.
That's true.
That's a part of your healing too.
That is. That
A part of
definitely
your
is.
healing. So you asked that question too. So how did you on the natural side? I had to be honest with myself and say, had you never done this, had you never went here, had you never listened to them,
Mhm.
had you just continued this way, had you listened to Holy Spirit, since you got the Holy Ghost so much,
Right.
you wouldn't have been here. But since you recognize that it's on you, take all of that back to Jesus, that faith part again, take all that back to him and be honest with him and say, God, I recognize I jacked up. Can you fix me?
Right.
Help me with this. And then you got to find someone to be honest with. And those individuals you have to be honest with, or those ones you have to be honest with enough, again, as we go back to, who can look at you and say, you ain't all right.
True.
Here's how you're going to be all right. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to call you every week. And when I call you, you need to be in this place. And I don't want you. I have one friend to this day. I
Mhm.
guess it just became routine for him.
Right.
He called me 3 times a day randomly. But he will always call me first thing in the morning, around 7 in the morning, because he know what time I'm about to get up.
Okay.
And in whatever time during the day, and then somewhere around 9, 10 o'clock at night, he called me. One, he called me at 7 in the morning because I'm waking up. Where you waking up at? You at your own house in your own bed?
Okay.
Because I know what you're going through. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And because of who he was in my life, this was my brother, my friend, but he was also somebody that I was mentoring.
Mhm.
I couldn't let that dude down. I couldn't let that dude see me failing or falling. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm sorry. I know you asking me questions. People ain't never got a chance to ask me. So
Right.
it's my therapy session too, y'all. My
Yeah.
therapy session too. No, but that level of accountability, even to people who you don't feel like are over you or in charge of you.
Man, that's true, amazing, and that's one thing I wanted to bring out in this podcast because they told me a little bit about that right there. So so where you are currently now, where you've been, how do you manage ministry, running a business, and your personal life?
I'm still learning. I'm still learning to do this well. However, I'm so determined not to make the mistakes I've made before, that I've put things in place. So now I make sure that I have people around me who know my temperament, they know my weaknesses, they know my strengths.
Okay, yeah.
And when they see me around my weaknesses, they step up. I mean, physically step up. If they see me around my strengths, then they're careful with me to make sure that I don't overdo it or put so much time into that I neglect the things that I'm supposed to be doing. I have an administrator who is phenomenal in what she does in making sure I show up to places. I don't overbook or overcommit. And very honest with me, I have a fiance who is absolutely gorgeous, but outside of being gorgeous, she is absolutely honest, and she will tell me about myself.
Hey, you need that, bro.
What?
You need that
Man,
right there.
I'm about tired of her already. You hear me? Tell me about myself. Who you think you? No, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
But I allow that. And that's how I manage it all, man. I find people, this is what I do. My pastor told me this years ago, and I took hold to it. He said, I hire my weaknesses. And that's what I do now. So if I'm not the best at finances, I hire somebody to handle my finances for the business. I have somebody to handle the books. If I'm not the greatest at dealing with people, I hire someone to be my PR. You know what I mean? I'm not the best with time management. That's why I have an administrator who calls me. She sets myself 30 minutes in advance. And at this point, I know her trick, okay?
Right.
So she knows where I'm supposed to be. She knows I'm supposed to be somewhere at 6 o'clock. Then she schedules me for 5:30, right? Tells me I'm there at 5:30. I get there earlier than I'm waiting.
Yeah, we got a text saying you was running about.
See how that go? You ain't got to tell my business on this You ain't got to tell my business on this podcast.
Hey, man, it's all because I run late myself. And RJ and them keep me. I have we have a staff here that keeps me in line because I work a full-time job and it's almost impossible to do what I do on a consistent basis without support. Yeah. And so I definitely can relate to that.
Not just have support, but allow them to support you.
I do. Trust me, I do. So being in the ministry as long as you have, what are some of the challenges that you have faced, and how did you overcome those challenges?
The greatest challenge I've ever faced, or that I have faced, I believe, is the challenge of being young at this. I didn't call me. God did, but God's people didn't want me doing it, or it seemed like they didn't. Being a young preacher, I had a lot of older preachers who were anti what I was doing. And I was just a young dude who was excited about Jesus trying to make it happen. Right. I really wanted people to be saved. I really wanted people to know Jesus. And I got called everything that I could. I had pastors tell their members, you better not go over there to that conference. Don't you go to that revival. Don't you get involved with that guy. But my heart was right, man. Yeah. My heart was right, bruh.
Yeah.
And so the way I've gotten over it is I just had to persevere through it, really. And God has sent certain older preachers, like my current pastor. I was sharing with you earlier that I've been in relationship and covenant with Pastor Jones and Pastor Cynthia since I was in high school.
Right.
When there were preachers that were saying those things, those are two of the preachers that said, "Oh no, we're gonna take you in." Bishop Brian Thompson took me in as a kid, and let me tell you what they did. They never said, "Hey man, I want to son you. Hey, can you be my? Hey, I'm gonna make you my spiritual son." They never did that. Bishop Brian Thompson, Bishop Ernest Jones, and Bishop James Hilton, Apostle Emery Goodman, who's going on to be with the Lord now, same with Bishop Hilton. But these guys, Pastor Joshua Goodman, they took me in as a young cat.
Right.
And they said, hey, we're going to work with you. What do you need to make this thing work? We'll be there. Don't worry about it, right? Man, they did all kinds of things, and that encouraged me to keep going. So where does that have me now? I have a mission that if there's a young preacher out there,
Okay.
I want to make sure that young preacher feels supported by somebody else. Because I realized something the other day, man. I'm about to be one of the old heads.
Oh yeah.
I realized that I'm not the young preacher no more.
Right.
I'm getting ready to be like one of the young guys the other day called me Unc, and I was
No,
like,
he did call you up.
oh man, this joker done unked me, bro. Once you become Unc, it's over.
Yeah.
You become Unc, it's over. So,
Yeah. But that's a good thing because uncles typically you look at as have wisdom and knowledge and able to help you out and when you need that mentorship,
Yeah.
that guidance. You know what I'm saying? So that's to me that's an honor. 'Cause
Yeah.
when I call somebody uncle, if they're not my biological uncle, that means I have a great deal of respect for you.
yeah.
For you. So I think that's a badge of honor.
Yeah,
you
I
don't-
appreciate that, man.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
Yeah, because that title don't for me. I don't just stow that upon someone that's
Yeah.
not naturally my biological
Biological.
uncle. Yeah, man. So that was one of the greatest challenges that you say you have faced. Let's talk about something that I typically talk about towards the end.
Okay.
So with your ministry, with your business experience and all the things that you involved, you'll teach out at Mental University, and you just got a multitude of things going on in your life. But I'm interested to hear what is your definition of unconditional love?
Oh,
What it relates to all the things, your personal life, your ministry, your business. What the unconditional love means to
a love that's challenged and a love that's chaste.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is when if it's chaste, you constantly want it, so you go after it. But in that chase, it's challenged. I used to run cross country.
Okay.
And I ran track and field, but let's talk about cross country where our shortest race was 3.1 miles. Right. And we run 3.1 miles, man. And I loved it. I loved running. I loved the adrenaline. But it was something about once you got past that 1.5, 2 mile mark,
Right.
you start to feel like, I'm done. I mean, every race, I'm literally running in the woods just to run, right? Because I'm after a feeling. I'm after something that is not just a feeling, but it's a pleasure.
Right.
It makes me feel rewarded. You know what I mean? I get something from this.
Right.
But the reason why you start to think like that is because of the challenge. And the challenge sometimes it makes you second guess yourself, makes you second guess the love you have for this thing, makes you consider quitting, and then makes you consider the resistance that is against you. True. However, because of the love, you chase it. You continuously go. I showed up for every meet. I showed up for every race. I never quit. I had a cramp and I kept going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't care if I had to limp run. I wasn't gonna be last, and I wasn't gonna quit. I was determined, and I think that's what unconditional love is. Okay. Sorry about all of that. That was
no. I want you to tell me what it meant to you, so you were fine. So let's switch back to your businesses. So you got the daycare and the academy. Is that correct? I just want to make sure I'm correct. So what are some of the greatest challenges that you face with? And I would imagine parents would
Absolutely.
be the. So,
but you parents did not hear me say that. Right. But yes.
So, but outside of the parents, and what are some of the greatest challenges, and how have you overcome those challenges in your business experience in the world?
I wasn't ready for that question.
I know.
That was a good one.
I know. That's Kelvis podcast for you.
Listen,
we're gonna keep it real over here.
I love it here.
Yeah,
I love it here.
Out,
I love it here.
Yeah.
The greatest challenge outside of the parents, you said, okay, I would say, okay, so we're looking at, if you're talking about my child care center, I have over 60 families, not children, 60 families that I'm responsible for making sure that teachers are absolutely educating these children in, their journey, okay? Then you're looking at the school, kindergarten through 5th grade, and also K4, which is preschool. Right. We're educating more than 20 students over here. Okay. The consideration between those two is everybody getting what they're supposed to get? That's the real challenge. So I guess the challenge, I would say, in one big, I don't know, one way to be able to say this is making sure that the purpose is fulfilled in every person every day.
Okay.
How do I, as one man, make sure that everyone else is doing that?
Right.
So I have ways that I try to make that happen. But yeah.
So we'll go back to the parents because I'm pretty sure I don't know if you know Miss Kelly. You know Miss Kelly?
No, which
Miss
one?
Vanessa
Kelly?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
she's
Uh-huh.
I think she's over the middle school at I can't think of the academy.
I can't remember which
I
school
think
she's
it's Alpha
at.
Academy. It may be Alpha.
Possibly.
Yeah, and so she's a part of our team, and she talks to us, talk to me all the time about the challenges, and Lord knows she's been through some challenges with
Absolutely.
kids in middle school going through identity crisis and suicide and a whole bunch of things, and it just seems like it's been a ongoing process here lately. So you got elementary
right now.
So what are the challenges outside of you making sure that everybody that's on your staff is giving those kids what they need? What other challenges do you see that you face in this?
The biggest challenge is, I believe, is shared throughout all of education if you take education seriously. And that is, how do we make sure that what we're teaching in the classroom is supported in the home? And because if it's not supported in the home, then it bounces back into the classroom.
Yeah.
And everything that I teach, and see, with us, we teach principle and we also teach curriculum, okay?
Yeah.
And so we're teaching our children how to treat others. We're teaching our children what the Bible says about how to treat others. We're teaching our children what the theories are. We're teaching our children what, how to handle numbers, But when they go home, if mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin aren't enforcing it, man, I don't understand this. Comment below. Can I tell your viewers to comment below?
Yeah, you can
Okay, comment below if you can help me to understand this. Because honestly, I guarantee you, not all of us agree on this because it's such a huge topic.
Right.
And that is, there are so many parents right now who are against homework. They believe that homework is punishment. And that's just one of the many issues that we're seeing in the educational system is that there are parents. Now, there are some teachers who believe that homework shouldn't be given out. But I'm going to just go ahead and say this. I believe homework is still necessary.
Okay.
I believe homework is necessary for review. Homework is necessary just to keep us, a child and a student's, let me just, even if we get past keeping the juices flowing, it keeps the student alert about the connection between the home and the school. What I do at school is still important at home. And when mama says, no, you can't go outside and play until after you get done. What?
Yes.
You couldn't play either.
No, sir.
You finna go out here?
Yeah.
Who you think? No.
Man.
Go outside and play until after you finish your homework. Then I understand that mama must evidently see some value in homework. Mom must evidently see some value in education in itself. It's not all about punishment. And if your child is sitting there crying the entire time they're doing homework and you can't even assist because things have shifted.
Right.
Okay. So, because there's some things when I was like, oh
yeah.
Opening a school, I probably needed to go back all the way to the.
Let me tell you something. My son, he started doing block math or whatever they call this math now. And me and his mom both got degrees, and I'm not no dumb guy. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I ain't the dumbest. And I'm like, why don't you just multiply 3 times whatever and bring, carry the one and add, no, Dad, we can't. We got to do this block method. And I'm like, so I'm telling you, I was mad. I went to school because that's the only way. That's the way we learned it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so she when I went out to the school, she's like, oh, she told me it was wrong. I said, what you mean it's wrong? That's the same answer. I don't understand. I never heard of this block method that y'all are talking about.
It's new. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He said, oh, well, this. I said, no, man. I don't know nothing about that. I know 3 times 3 is 9. Okay?
That's all I know.
Yeah.
And ain't nothing else to
I'm not drawing no blocks on no paper and putting these numbers in and doing all this down at the bottom, and I got it. They said, well, they want to see how they get to work. Well, if you multiply these numbers and carry the one and all that, you can see it's the same process. Oh no, I just had a problem with that. You know what I'm saying?
I get it, but can I use you use that as an example?
Use me as an example.
So we have parents who do that, But here's my question to that parent who comes into my office and says, your teacher made my child do homework that I didn't even understand. My question is, what did you not want to do so that you can get an understanding to help that child?
Oh, I didn't. I just refused. I wasn't doing it.
Exactly.
That's that
You
simple.
know why you wouldn't do it? Because I don't already did school.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But the message that sends to the child is what?
No, he's still doing it. Oh, you're going to get it done.
You going to get it done,
Right.
But you don't need my support to get it done.
Oh, no.
Or you're not going to get my support.
Tell you something. I hired somebody.
Yeah, but see,
Yeah.
and you know what? I salute you for that. Because there's some parents who say, I ain't doing it. You on your own. Figure it out or go back to that school. Or you ain't got to do that. You just take the 0. So now a child thinks that a 0 is okay. But when you turn around and say, I'm going to hire you a tutor because dad just doesn't have that. I can't
Dad
do
or
that.
mom.
You know,
I
neither one of us.
leave her out.
Oh, you ain't going to leave her out?
No, I ain't going to leave her out.
You going to get it. You going to get it after this, bro.
Yeah,
You
that's
going
all
to get it after this. But we don't have, we're not here for that. We can't do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to still show you how important your education is.
Right.
We're going to put money into something to show you. And that's the stuff that needs to happen. Not just at Genesis Christian School in Fayetteville, North Carolina, 6917 Rayford Road, right here in Fayetteville. Okay.
Gotcha.
Anyway, you're not just at Genesis Christian School, right, but also in Cumberland County schools, in Hope County schools, in all over.
Right.
We want to make sure that these students are getting what they need, but we need the support from the house.
That's true.
And a lot of times the support from the house is snatched away when a parent feels like y'all doing too much.
Right.
Y'all doing too much. But again, you asked what my biggest challenge is. I think the biggest challenge, and I have phenomenal parents at our school, honestly. Our school, I'm proud of our parents. We have a 98% African-American pupil right now. So our families are 98% minority, okay? And many of them are coming from lower income homes. But let me tell you, they're paying for private school and they're doing everything they can to stay involved and they're doing everything they can to show their children that their education matters.
And that's key.
That thing matters to me.
That's key,
man.
because, a lot of times it's generational. We'll say generational curse, that they didn't necessarily get it from their parents. And so, it's kind of passed down. But I'm thankful, and I'm really thankful, and I thank God that y'all have a great successful rate, and these parents are really being involved in school.
Thank you, brother.
Because I look at, we both look at what's going on in schools nowadays, shooting and all this kind of stuff going on, and the mental stress of these young kids, and even at young age nowadays. You know what I'm saying? All the stuff that they have to contend with out in this world. So I commend all teachers, all school administrators.
Give it up for y'all.
I think this past week was teacher appreciation. We're
still in teacher appreciation right now. So,
my hats off to all the teachers and everybody that has anything to do with kids' education. Honestly, I believe in education. And so I want to thank y'all. Thank you, and thank your staff, and thank everybody that's out there involved in education.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man. And
so before we leave, man, if you had to part with some words of wisdom for the audience, what would be your closing remarks to the audience?
If I had something to say to the audience, man, you know what? Regardless of what it is that you deal with or you go through, endure like a good soldier. Regardless of how heavy it seems, what you're dealing with, remember your why, and remember that your why is always going to point back to what God intended for you. If you can just get in touch with what God said to you in the beginning. Now, you may say, hey, well, dude, I'm enjoying the podcast, but I don't really talk to God like that. Cool, that's your business. Hey, that's cool. But I want to encourage you to stay strong so that you can keep making great impact where you are. And when you're ready to talk to God, just find me, okay? That's cool. We can walk this thing out together. But as for right now, I'm encouraging you not to give up. And then more than anything else, you got to keep listening, watching the Kelvin podcast. That's what I'm leaving with you.
Amen.
That's what I'm leaving you with.
That's a prophetic word right there.
That's a prophetic word right there. You got to keep watching the Kelvin's podcast.
Yes, indeed. Hey, man, I enjoyed you, man. I thank you
Yes,
for coming through and just keeping it real with us and sharing your experience and just blessing us with a word that you just gave. And I thank you so much. And I'm gonna definitely have you back, man.
Please, brother.
And I still gonna come out and help y'all because my boss is out there and my
man,
returning brother.
I love Robert Cousins, man. That's my I ain't got time. We closing, but I love that brother, man. He's an encouragement to me. When I was going through my situations, you talk about how God sent natural people.
Right.
That man never looked at me and quoted a scripture, but he always looked at me and made sure I knew that I was somebody.
Right.
That's straight up.
That's right.
Mhm.
He's a good dude, man.
He's a good
Not
dude.
only that, he's one of the part of the most greatest fraternity Blue Fire. You know what it is, y'all. All right. Hey, with that close, like, share, and follow Kelvis Podcast. Thank you again, bro, for coming
Yes,
on
sir.
through.
Appreciate
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man.
Yes, sir.